Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our Beef Brunch news update on Monday, September 14th. My name is Ashley Edwards, and with me today are Jason Holmes, Lee Falk, and Vince Desatel. We're going to kick off this morning with our weather and field status updates. Lee, how are things looking over your way in Northwest Louisiana?
Hey, thanks, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you all today. As far as field conditions in North Louisiana and Northwest Louisiana in particular, most folks have gotten some level of rain since Hurricane Laura moved through. Some people got quite a significant amount, others down to a trace. But since Hurricane Laura has moved through, spotty rainfall has been prevalent. So most folks have gotten some measurable rainfall in northern Louisiana. And we were talking right before we started recording. Um, as far as forage conditions go in pastures and hay fields, I've never seen quite the amount of forage and the quality in our part of the world this time of year. Most times this time of year, we're burned up in a drought or what have you. But really and truly, our forage conditions look good. We got some people that are continuing to make hay. Most everybody I talk to has plenty of hay. In fact, most people have an excess of hay, but uh, most recognize the fact that we need to make it while it's there, and store it up for the hard times that may be coming. So it really is a blessing to see this much forage available this time of the year.
Jason, you want to talk a little bit about Northeast Louisiana and what we're seeing over this way?
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to touch real quick on identified a few pastures. Have not seen it in any hay meadows, but in some pastures where the Bermuda grass just has gotten a little bit underutilized. It's starting to mat up a little bit. Real deep, thick, dense forest. That we're seeing some Bermuda grass leaf rust. So it's a bipolaris is the organism that causes it. Typically, we do see that in times whenever there's a perfect environment, a suitable host. So the suitable host being that real lush, like Lee was saying, the pasture conditions are just extremely good right now. So there's a lot of susceptible hosts, and that Bermuda grass that's out there whenever it gets matted up because it's underutilized, not being grazed quite heavily enough. We see this can be a pretty bad issue, and it'll take a lot of ground real quick. So the three things to keep in mind is number one, try to keep that mat down in those pastures where you're not getting that stuff just laying over on top of each other, where you can get some airflow, decrease some of that humidity that's down into that sod. Check your potassium levels. So potassium has been identified as one of the nutrients that can help you battle some of these organisms that will affect Bermuda grass. And the third thing, you might want to consider doing some controlled burning after that Bermuda grass goes into dormancy. Identify those areas where you had the issues with some of those large patches dying back like that, and try to do some control burning on those areas during dormancy. That's all I had, Ashley.
All right, thank you both. Vince, I know it's been kind of crazy, particularly Southwest Louisiana. It might get kind of crazy southeast with Tropical Storm Sally coming this way, but you want to touch a little bit on weather and field status in Central and South Louisiana, and go over kind of some of the mosquito control, because I know there's been a lot of questions on that recently.
Sure, Ashley, and thank y'all for having me with y'all today. Yeah, it's the last days since Hurricane Laura, it's been really challenging for the beef cattle industry, and as you here in the central part of the state, and as you move southwest, actually Hurricane Laura had an impact from the Gulf Coast all the way up to Shreveport. So that westerly side of Louisiana has been impacted with infrastructure issues. So as far as the rainfall, that was associated with the storm, generally, I think, most folks received anywhere from 5 to 8, 9 inches of rain, depending on the locality of where you were with the association to the storm. I know in our general area, we had around 6 inches. With that brought on a great outbreak of mosquitoes. So field conditions are good right now, but we've been compromised somewhat as as far as fencing goes and cleanup and tree debris and that sort of thing. So producers have been busy trying to clean those issues out of the way. And as Lee mentioned, our forage production, this time of the year is tremendous, which, as we further south and closer to the Gulf, we generally get more rain than y'all do in the north part of the state. With that being said, it stands true that, we've got plenty of forage out there. Folks are still making an abundance of hay. Unfortunately, where the storm impacted the producers, along the coast, and as you move inland into Beauregard and Vernon Parish, there may be some hay needs there. So as mentioned previously, the excessive amounts of hay, that producers may have, they may want to consider some type of donation or, contributing to the Farm Bureau's hay clearinghouse program. That will be a need as we move forward into the fall and winter feeding period. So with that being said, there has been some scuttlebutt about a lot of producers that are not going back to the coast with cattle. There's been an extensive amount of marketing going on here, the days following the storm association. So it's questionable, on how many cattle are going to be left going, south of the intercoastal, so to speak. But that being said, that the mosquito outbreak, we touched on that earlier. We've seen this event happen, back in 2002 with Lily and back in 2005 with Rita, tremendous amounts of mosquito outbreaks, whether it's an association or a push from the hurricane weathers of our coastal regions pushing mosquitoes up. We've had a significant loss of number of livestock, well over exceeding 200 to 300 head in our general area. One producer in particular losing 20 head in a night period. So, and individually, myself as well as other producers, I lost a bull it'll be a week ago on Friday. And it's just, it's a situation where they just can't overcome it, either through suffocation and asphyxiation or as some of the local veterinarians attribute most of it to blood loss. There's a massive amount of mosquitoes, and some spraying has gone on. Most of those parishes in the coastal areas have mosquito abatement programs where they have the funding available to pull the trigger when needed to take care of those situations. However, as you go further north into the central part of the state, that not being the case, and so there's still a lot of controversy on how those things can be handled from the Department of Ag and Forestry side of things, and even through USDA and some FEMA possible designated disaster areas through FEMA may qualify for some funding or some spraying for that purpose. But all in all, as in the last days, mosquito populations have settled down. It seems like the cattle are more comfortable in the morning than they had been, 2 weeks ago. It was just terrible. And walking all night, you lost some horses as well as, some small livestock, sheep and goats, and even a deer pen situation where they lost 30 of 100 head of deer that were confined to a pen operation. So it's been a challenge, and hopefully moving forward, we're not impacted by Hurricane Sally or Tropical Storm Sally at this point. But it should, we should get some northerly winds out of this and maybe push those mosquitoes that are left back down to the coast. So that's all I got.
Thank you. And I'm going to add to that. So he just mentioned several resources that we encourage you to look at. Louisiana Farm Bureau, he mentioned the hay clearinghouse, but they have been working with Louisiana Cattlemen's Association and the Department of Ag and Forestry to make sure that they're coordinating and helping producers as much as they can. So I'll put those websites down in the video and podcast description, but we encourage you to look at them. Again, if you need them, if you need assistance, or if you are able to donate hay or fencing supplies or whatever it may be. So with that, Jason, I will turn it over to you for our market update.
All right, so in the 5-area feeding region for the weekend in September the 11th, our Fed steer negotiated cash sales closed the week at between 98 and 101. That's about $4 lower than a week ago. October futures are currently trading 43 cents higher at 105. December is up 47 at 109, and February is up 27 at 114. So all of those fed cattle seem to be trading up in our futures markets, but cash sales, like I said, for the week did close a little bit lower. 500 to 600 pound steers sold between 132 and 146, which is about $3 higher than the previous week. Our feeder class of cattle, that's those 700 to 800 pounds, sold between 121 and 132. That's about $4 lower to $2 higher than the previous week. On that same class of cattle, October futures are currently trading up 82 cents, 139 and 140. October's up 97 cents at 140, and November's up 93 cents at 141. So it's good whenever we look at the board and see a lot of green colors on there, showing that those live cattle and those feeder type class cattle are all trading up right now. Lean cull cows range from 38 to 58 cents. Which is basically steady from the previous week. Some of those higher yielding cattle traded a little bit higher than that, but somewhere between 38 and 58 on those lean cull cows. Latest comprehensive fed cattle weekly report showed carcass weights 4 pounds higher at 889, which is still about 27 pounds over last year. So they continue to work through that extra tonnage in the plants. If you read most of the market reports out there, they expect that they'll continue to work through those higher carcass weights at least through the fall of 2020. On our feedstuffs, the soybean meal trading $4 higher at $3.19. Corn gluten feed is higher at $5 at $4.80. DDGs are $7 higher at $137.50. Cottonseed meal is steady at $232.50. Whole cottonseed is steady at $210. Soybean hulls are higher at $5 higher at $105. Rice bran is steady at $100, and corn is trading about 6 cents higher at $3.64. So that's pretty typical that we start seeing most of our commodities start climbing back up in September. Typically, most of our folks are trying to book them in August whenever those commodities start ticking down a little bit. But naturally, we're going to start seeing those start climbing back up a little bit as we move into the fall months. That's all I've got, Ashley.
Thank you. We have several events coming up in the next couple of months. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, if you don't mind talking about the state fair and the AI class that we have coming up at the Hill Farm.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. So just go in order as far as when these events are coming up. September the 30th through October the 2nd, we're going to be holding a beef cattle artificial insemination course at the Hill Farm. We've got a number of instructors coming in that will be teaching folks the science and practicality of how to AI a cow. We'll actually have, there'll be some classroom time, but most of the time will be spent in a set of pens practicing AI and cattle. So this is a live class. You will have practical experience by the time you complete the course. That once again, that's going to be September the 30th through October the 2nd. We still have a few spots available. We had a number of folks that were on our list as far as wanting to take the course that were from central or the southern part of the state, and the Hurricane Laura kind of messed up some of their plans. So we do have some spots available. If you're interested, contact one of us. We'll get you all the information on that. Once again, it's September 30th through October the 2nd. Another big topic that we've talked about numerous times on these updates is the State Fair of Louisiana. There's been uncertainty all summer as far as the status of the State Fair, and we finally got official word through a press release last night that they're canceling most aspects of the State Fair for this year, but they are committed to having the Junior Livestock Show. So from October the 28th through November the 7th, there will be livestock shows. I checked this morning. There is an updated schedule on the State Fair website. If you would like to check that out, they will be having junior livestock shows, and they also will be having the National Brahman show as well. They had a commitment to do that, but other open shows have been canceled. But the most important thing for me, in my opinion, is they are moving forward with junior livestock shows. So these kids that have these livestock projects will be able to complete their project for this fall. So that is one bit of good news. That's all I've got on those topics, Ashley, unless I need to add something else.
No, sir, I don't think so. For that AI class, you can reach out to Lee or myself, and we'll help you get that registration form. I believe Jason has it as well. I have one more event that I want to add up before we wrap up today, and that is our Northeast Louisiana Virtual Beef and Forage Field Day. So it's usually an in-person event, but like everything in 2020, we've had to shift it to a virtual format for this year. It will be launching this Thursday, September 17th. Our topics include forage fertilization and fertilizers, sprayer calibration, the importance of defining a breeding season, particularly on the economic side of that, how you can use estrus synchronization for natural service, and record keeping as well. So all of those videos from a lot of our different specialists throughout the state, we will have those posted on the LSU Ag Center Northeast Region channel on YouTube. We will also have them at lsuagcenter.com/NE Beef Forage Field Day. And I'll provide that link in the video and podcast description in case you need that. And outside of that, I think that's all we have for you this morning. Thank you all again for joining us. And please remember that you can reach out to us at any time. Have a great week.